very much. Good afternoon. My name is Lolade, and we're here for a very special discussion with one of the most influential women in fashion, Natalie Kingham. For those of you who don't know, Natalie is the director of buying at Matches Fashion, and she has a lot of experience that she'll be sharing with us today. Her career has been incredibly diverse. Through the years, she's been able to make a lot of contacts with designers, not just in the UK, but around the world, and grow the Matches Fashion brand to be a global destination for online luxury fashion. So I want everyone to join me in giving a very warm Lagos welcome to Natalie Kingham.
Hello. That's a welcome. I don't know if I've ever had a welcome like that before. Thank you.
Hi, Natalie.
Hello.
Officially, welcome to GT Bank Fashion Weekend.
Thank you.
So we have a lot of things that we would like to talk to you about today, about your career and your experience. But most importantly, I'd like to start by just saying you hold one of the most coveted roles in fashion today. Can you tell us about your journey to becoming the buying director of Matches Fashion?
I feel very privileged to have my job, and it wasn't something I'd necessarily set out to do. What I'd wanted to do was work in fashion. I love the fashion industry, everything around it, the makeup, the hair, the photography, the content, magazines, clothes, designers, all of it, and I just wanted to be a part of it. And it took me a while to find what was the right path for me within the industry. And then I just worked very hard. But I feel very lucky to have the position that I do. And I work very hard all the time because I enjoy it.
How early did you know that you wanted to have a career in fashion?
When I was taken to Portobello Road Market in London when I was about 10 or 12 years old. And there was all these colourful characters everywhere dressing up. And I saw very quickly the reaction and the way that they made me feel. And I wanted to have a part of that. I think there's a level of escapism within the fashion industry. And it's a chance to put feathers on and dress up and escape maybe from your day-to-day life. Yeah.
So obviously you're a buyer.
Yes.
And could you tell us a little bit, what is it like a day in the life of a fashion buyer at Matches Fashion?
I think every day is very varied. There's a lot of things to manage. Probably the one thing that you should always be thinking about is what you are, the messages that you're sending to your customers. So every day I will look at our upload and look very carefully at how that upload is being presented to the customer on that day, how the styling looks. That's probably the first thing I do every day. Check emails, do that, and then the day can be varied from dealing with budgets, meeting with designers, meeting the internal teams at the business, or travelling. So, but the first thing is to always have a look at what's going on the site every day.
So can you tell us a little bit about what makes a good fashion buyer?
I think probably what makes a good fashion buyer is really being aware of your surroundings, watching what people are wearing, how they're living their lives. That's probably the most important thing. Everything really stems from everything that's going on around you. The way people are travelling, what restaurants they're eating in, why they're eating that food, the lifestyle of people will determine whether you feel that you should be having more high heels or flat shoes or big bags or small bags. Bizarrely, I think a lot of it stems from what's going on around you. And then to really listen to your gut. If you really love something, then your customer probably is as well. You're also looking at things very, very far in advance. So you have to be ahead of the curve. And to do that, I think you need to look very socially at what's going on around you.
So you mentioned using your gut to make decisions. Do you ever allow your personal taste or style to influence your buying decisions?
A little bit, yes. Us as a buying team have created muses of various different women. So whether she's a woman that likes to be more androgynous or a woman that is working, whether she's a mother, whether all the different kind of aspects of a woman's personality. I believe that a woman will move all day between all those different women, and thinking about what you want to wear and how you want to feel is very important to what you're buying. So my personal taste and aesthetic will come into it if I'm thinking that's exactly what I want to wear to the office that day, or that's what I want to wear on the plane, or that's what I want to wear when I'm having a cocktail. However, I'm thinking about so many different women around the world and body shapes and their lives that your personal taste has to come into it. But quite often I can look at very different aesthetics that possibly aren't my personal taste, but I know would be a lot of women's personal taste. So you have to be really flexible and diverse.
So I'd like to come back to global fashion a little later, but what exactly are the things that you feel are important when selecting pieces for a brand like Matches Fashion?
I always think and look very carefully at the quality. I believe that when things are photographed on the site, we have incredibly good photography, but I want the customer to, when they receive their marble box, I want them to unwrap it and find that the product is even better than what they saw on the site, that the quality, the make, everything about it is even better. So we have a very high level of craftsmanship in everything that we're buying. And then the customer trusts you, will come back and buy more from you, and trust maybe new brands and emerging brands that you're showcasing, because they know that your level of workmanship and luxury is there.
So Matches Fashion is obviously a global luxury e-tailer, and you have customers that shop from all over the world. What do you consider when you're shopping for different markets? Is it something that is important to the brand, or would you say that there's a standard that women in general sort of look for when they're shopping online?
I believe that, yes, exactly that. I've always felt that great stylish women are all around the world, and they're all after looking and working in the same way, and to have a dialogue that speaks to that woman internationally. And the world can be very international, and stylish women are everywhere, and kind of working towards that customer for us is what's really important.
So to the average consumer,
Yeah.
you walk into your favorite store and you go onto your favorite fashion website, and you're presented with what seems like a perfect curation of clothes to buy. It always looks so simple and so effortless. But is there a science to actually picking these items and presenting them to your average consumer?
Sometimes there is quite a lot of logic and science that goes on. I very annoyingly can ignore all of it, which drives everybody mad. But it's by taking those risks that means you can push a business forward. So there is a lot of logic and science with, there's a whole team that kind of look at how many black shoes you sold or how many black trousers. So I would predict that next time you need to buy that many black trousers. However, I'm quite strong at going in and saying, well, I believe she's going to want a red skirt instead of black trousers, so we're just going to tear that data up and move on. But you have to be brave to do that. But the way fashion moves so quickly and the way that everything moves so quickly, you need to have that knowledge, but you need to also believe it that you can change it and not have to stick to it. It's quite nice to have that autonomy, and it's quite important to have that autonomy, but it sits with the buying team, and we have to, if we believe that we're not going to do the black trousers and we're going to do the red skirt, that we have to make sure the rest of the business is going to help us sell those red skirts.
I love that you mentioned how quickly things move today, because I think that's very characteristic of the digital world that we live in.
Yeah.
Do you think that social media has influenced the way that people buy, the way that they receive luxury?
I think social media has changed a lot. I can remember when Instagram was in its infancy and the power of those images and influencers, and I think what it did change a lot of things where you could see something so instantly and you would want things so instantly, and so I think it did change the way to buy quite quickly. You need to be very, very reactive. You need to know what the customer wants before they've even seen it or before they even know that they want it. And the only way to do that is to monitor your own reaction to when you see things. And I monitor the rest of my team as well. Generally, when we all react to something, we're all different ages and different types of people. That's when you can bet your money on that roulette that's the one that's going to win, which a lot of the time that's kind of what we're doing. We're just hedging our bets on what we think is going to be the next big thing.
So I'd like you to speak a little bit more about the concept of luxury. Do you think that luxury has evolved, or is it the same through the years, or what are some of the things that you think have changed, if any, in luxury today?
Luxury is changing at the moment. I think we're getting to the end of a decade and going into a new one, so there's always change historically when that happens. And I think that luxury is changing at the moment a lot, in as much that I believe people now view luxury as something that's very limited. So one-off items, upcycled items, the journey of discovery, authentic, artisanal design, and maybe there's only ever been 10 of something made. That seems to be resonating more and more than very fast, mass-produced items.
So when I think about the luxury experience, I think a lot of times the way that luxury is translated offline, it's a very sensory experience. It's incredibly personalized. How do you kind of bridge the gap between providing that experience within a physical context and providing it on a digital platform?
Well, there's a couple of ways that we've managed to do it, which is wonderful. We have an amazing content team that literally everything that is bought and all the stories that we want to tell, the content team will drive all of that through digital platform, the e-commerce site. But we also opened up a physical space called Carlos Place last year, which was an experiential shopping townhouse. So you have a couple of floors of private shopping and a couple of floors that we can treat more as gallery space or exhibition space that we can change every couple of weeks depending on the stories that we want to tell, so that whenever you're passing you can drop in and you can see and feel everything that we're talking about online as well. So having that physical space, and we also have our physical stores as well, but I think having Carlos Place where we can really react to the cultural calendar, and we have in conversations, you can meet designers, you can come and look at one-off product that we've developed. I find that quite an exciting place for us, and one of its kind in London for sure.
So for those of us who don't know, Matches Fashion actually started off as an offline luxury retail brand, and through the years evolved to become an online super luxury retail brand. Do you think that it is important for retail brands to sort of converge the offline and online experience that they're offering their customers, or do you think that maybe in the future things would be purely digital?
Matches Fashion started 30 years ago as boutiques in London, and I was a shopper at those boutiques. They're wonderfully curated. When I joined Matches Fashion about 10, 11 years ago, they were just doing the online part of it. It's been amazing to be a part of that journey and watch how that has grown and transformed, but essentially keeping the core values of what the business was about, which was a very strong curated fashion edit. Now, when I see brands and designers, they quite often do have a digital aspect to what they're doing. And I do think it's important, but I also think that the physical is really important, and really you need to have both. I think in the future you will as well. I think there's probably, you don't need so many physical spaces, but you need to be able to tell your story physically and digitally. And I meet many brands now that and designers that are starting out and they have a digital space straight away, and I think it makes sense to do that.
So now I want to transition a little bit and get to know Natalie a little better. So there was a quote that described you as being the British fashion buyer who avoids trends and loves Birkenstocks.
There you go. I don't lie. Yes, I favour an ugly shoe. Yes, because quite frankly, my feet are ruined from wearing far too many high heels when I was younger. I love high heels and I love watching women in high heels, but my feet can't cope with it anymore. So I do favour an ugly shoe. Trends I find important to a degree, but I believe a woman should empower herself by dressing herself in a way where she feels comfortable and that suits her. And personal style and learning about your personal style is much more important than following a trend. But you have to sometimes play around with the trends to find your own personal style that works for you.
So we know you launched your own fashion label a few years
did.
ago. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what your inspiration was?
Like I said, I tried many different things in the fashion industry. I was at home with my daughter and was missing doing things in fashion. I was doing a few styling jobs. So it was a very, what I call, sitting around the kitchen table cottage industry of a fashion brand, which actually did pretty well. What I didn't realise, looking back, that the brand was quite feminine and had lots of ruffles and florals and ribbons, and I actually still favour a lot of the aesthetic that my brand had. I still actually favour a lot of that. I enjoyed it very much. I think it gave me a very good 360 degree of what the industry is about. I'm by no means a designer. I got everybody else to kind of do all the pattern cutting and things for me, but it was just a really good form of expression for myself. And I think everybody should. You've got nothing to lose sometimes. You should just try whatever you want to try. You learn from your failures. If you fall over, you get up. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm always so surprised if I don't fail. I'm always expecting to fall over, and then I'm very pleasantly surprised when I don't.
Okay, so obviously you've been here in Lagos for a few days.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about maybe some of the fashion that has caught your eye whilst you've been here?
I'm actually wearing a T-shirt from Waffles and Cream. I don't know if you know that brand, but it was introduced to me and I went down and saw them yesterday and I thought they were quite incredible. I love subcultures and to hear that they're the only skate shop in West Africa was quite incredible. I think innovation, entrepreneurial, a voice, a point of view, these are all the things that you need to create a brand. And he's got a really, really good eye, and I think hats off to them. I hope they do really, really well, and I wanted to show support to them today. I think it's quite fab. And the shows last night were great as well. I love the way that everybody is dressing up outside. Everybody's so happy, and all the dancing and cheering. It's really refreshing. It's fab.
So one of the things that you've done quite successfully at Matches is to integrate emerging brands into the whole experience of buying luxury with more established brands. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thinking was behind that and how you were able to accomplish it so seamlessly into the Matches experience?
Gosh, thank you. Purely like what I was just saying, I think if you can meet people and they have a strong point of view, a strong voice, they know what they want to do, they know the messages, they're entrepreneurial, innovative, they really will, that really is what you need to be set apart and to create a successful brand or be a good designer. You have to have your own voice and your own gut instinct. You can't look around and follow trends. You have to have your point of view and go your way and let other people come to you. So finding new brands and working with them and championing them, it's really that. It's being able to give them a platform for their voice that I find really empowering. And I think being that middleman between being able to help people that are really doing a great job, and then really it's down to the customer. You can tell the customer these stories really authentically and honestly, and then hopefully they will get on board and wear their designs. But it's all down to the customer at the end of the day. I can open a door, but I can't make them spend their money.
So we have a lot of people here today that are probably interested in establishing a career in fashion, probably in being a buyer. So what are the tips that you could give to breaking in? And for those who are already on the journey, how do you make it to the top?
I didn't finish school and I had to work for a living very, very quickly. So I struggled. I couldn't do internships. I had to get a paid job, which is how I ended up on being a sales assistant and meeting the people on the shop floor. It's very hard on that level when you're in sales to try and get into buying. But you get a good sense of the customer. I think then being able to work as maybe a photographer's assistant, maybe a hair and makeup assistant, those kind of jobs are the things that I managed to do to then find a route into buying. Although buying wasn't my first choice, I think I just tried lots of different things to see what would fit. But like I said, I think that gives you a really good understanding. I think you just have to be a very driven person. You have to believe in yourself. And I think you also have to surround yourself with really good people, people that you can trust, and people that, I mean, there's people that I met on the shop floor that I'm still friends with, and we can still help each other within the industry. So I think it's really good, important to surround yourselves. You're not an island. You can have a good team of people around you. And I think that's a very, I would say that was a very important thing to remember.
And for all the talented designers, African designers who would love to have their brands showcased or retailed on global platforms like Matches Fashion and the likes, what advice can you offer them?
I would say that there is a retailer for every designer. And that if you're a designer and you're a brand, and maybe there's some stores that are not working with you, not buying your brand, it doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't good. You've just got to find the right fit. You've got to find the right retailer to fit what you're doing, because it's all about the customer. Everything is about the customer. So I'm looking at our customer a lot, and then I'm looking at brands and designers a lot and understanding what they may want. So I can see a brand that I think is so clever and so wonderful, but I don't have the right customer for it. So you just need to keep going and find the right retailer for you. And then your retailer is your partner. We're here to partner with you and to work with you on building a business, and to work with each other is really important. It's not just about the retailer buying it and us selling it. There's a lot more to get that circle working and joining up all those dots.
So do you think that there is a place in today's ecosystem for African fashion? And obviously it has a very strong cultural element to it. Do you think that there's a demand? Is the world ready to shop African brands?
Of course.
And if so,
yeah.
What are sort of the things that you're seeing in terms of styles, in terms of brands, and how is it kind of being measured on your platform?
Everywhere around the world, I'm never particularly looking for designers that purely come out of the Middle East or Paris or Africa. I'm looking for designers and brands that resonate with our customer and our aesthetics. Everywhere I go around the world, there's great brands and great designers. It just so happens that some will be African and some will be Japanese and some will be French. I don't think anyone sets out to just go, right, we're just going to work with this type of aesthetic, but there is wonderful clothes and designers here, and many of them are working internationally, which isn't always the case, and many brands here are, so it's good.
So I want to come back to your personal career. Would you say you've had any defining moments or highlights that you'd like to share?
Defining moments or highlights. probably getting the job at Matches Fashion. And I think it was last year or the year before, I was one of the most influential women voted for on Vogue or something, which was made me quite happy because I'd flicked through Vogue magazine since I was a little girl, so that was unexpected and very nice.
So there has to be a balance between fashion and clothes that look cool and things that people will actually buy. How do you address that?
Again, thinking about all the different women that there are, what they're going to do in a day, whether they need things that are going to be practical for the office, picking up the kids, and then if they just want to go out and have a good time of an evening, which I really enjoy doing that by quite a lot, looking at all the kind of party clothes. It's good fun. And we're always thinking about the lifestyle of a customer, so what she wants to wear when she goes on holiday, goes to the gym, when she's on the beach, and more recently even maybe what she wants for her home, and thinking about the cushions and the tabletop and everything that she may want when she's entertaining at home as well. So we're really thinking about the whole of the woman's lifestyle, and I want to empower women to feel good about themselves. So you flip quite easily between the practical and the fun.
So part of fashion, obviously, it goes beyond just the clothes that you wear. Like you mentioned, it's also your personal style and how it reflects in your home. Has your role at Matches also evolved to sort of buying and including other elements of style and fashion beyond just the clothes?
Say that again, sorry.
Has your role at fashion
Yeah.
at Matches evolved to include other elements of fashion beyond just the clothes?
Yeah, thinking about their home, thinking about what they want to wear when they're travelling on a plane, when they're on a beach, all of that we're thinking about, yeah.
So we're going to switch gears a little bit now, and we're going to do a lightning round of questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so in 3 words, how would you describe your personal style?
Eclectic, bit of a magpie, and practical.
Okay. When I mention Lagos, what comes to mind?
Warmth. The warmth of the people and the weather, both, yeah.
That's a good one. What's your favorite film of all time?
Rebel Without a Cause, James Dean. I probably watched it when I went to Portobello Road Market, and it really stuck with me, the style of the film and the story of the film as well.
I know you do a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite fashion city? And if so, which one and why?
Paris. I just love Paris. Everybody loves Paris. There's nothing not to love. I never get tired of looking at the buildings, and yeah, it's gorgeous in Paris. Beautiful.
Beyond fashion, what do you see?
I love the arts. I love photography. I love art. I love films. I love music. I love anything that gets my senses going. So food. I'm a creature that enjoys things. So anything that makes me happy, really.
So I have one final bonus question.
Yeah.
Tea or coffee?
Tea. I'm English.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
Natalie Kingham.
Oh, thank you. Thanks very much.
So we're gonna take some questions from the audience.
Okay. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Natalie. Interesting session. Thank you for coming. I'm an accessories designer. I make handbags, and I have a stand here. And I didn't hear you talk more, like maybe about accessories and for your store. You walked in with a very gorgeous, like I don't know if that's a handbag or.
I know. I've given them pride of place, haven't I?
I'm trying to find that. So I wanted to know what kind of accessories that you guys look out to buy. Do you buy handbags for your store? And if you do, what kind of handbags do you look out for? And I like the question about the way you answered the question about buyers in Africa, or when she asked you, and you said you're not just looking for a buyer to come from Africa. A buyer can be from anywhere. You just want a buyer that has a product that fits with your customers. And when I design for ladies, I normally think about what is the woman going to want. You know, I made a foam bag this year. It was a little bag that we sold for so little. And the day we put it up, we took so many orders, and I was like, wow, if I knew this was going to sell so much, I would have made so many. You know, so I want to know what you look out for when you're buying accessories, and probably especially handbags, because I'm the bag queen.
I think when it comes to handbags in particular, there is a little bit more of a science to it. And again, it's about looking at how women are living their lives. So I think a few years ago, we started seeing that women were working and on the run, and so they'd always have their laptop in a bag. And so that quite quickly you think, right, people are going to need cases for their laptop, they're going to need a big bag for their laptop. And then all of that kind of technology shrank. And so all the bags and things did. But also small bags, I believe, are, because a woman is carrying so many things around with her, and maybe she's working all day, she needs to take the small bag out because she can't be lugging a big bag all day. So she always has a small bag. So that was the birth of the little pouch, really, the pouch that went into the big bag. I also believe that small bags are a sign of, I don't need to carry much around with me, but it's a lie, because we've got the big bag around the back that nobody can see. But we're trying to maybe send a message that we don't need to carry very much, but we all know that's not true. No woman walks around with a bag this size. So there is a science to it. It's about we're sending messages out to people. You know, this is all I need. I think the boot of the car has got like the biggest suitcase in it you've ever seen, but here I am pretending that's all I need. And I think we're sending messages out to people. So I actually think accessories, it's so interesting. It's the same with footwear as well, because I believe nowadays that high heels are also a sign of, I'm getting into a car, I haven't got to walk anywhere. You're sending a sign out to people when you wear a suit and flat shoes that you mean business. So I think clothes and accessories have an important role of what we're trying to say to other people about ourselves, as well as trying to be practical. But I do think it's challenging with bags. They're expensive to make, expensive to develop. And I think with emerging designers, there's a lot of cost involved when you have a lot of big brands and branding on bags. That the customer quite often wants to show that they've bought into a big brand, a sign of wealth, which is where I think sometimes accessory brands can struggle and find it harder than ready-to-wear brands to get their brand going. So you did really well to sell as many as you did. Well done.
Okay, so we have some questions in the back.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay.
Oh, at the front.
Good morning.
Hello.
Okay, my name is Nicholas. I'm a fashion designer. My question is this. For your many years of experience as a buyer, what are some of the blunders some fashion designer makes that turns you off when you want to buy? Then secondly, what will you advise an emerging brand how will it position itself to get to the extent whereby international buyers can look out for their products? Because there are some fashion designers, they are good with what they do, but probably they are not well positioned for big clients to see them to buy their products.
Yeah, I do appreciate that it's quite difficult to get buyers to see brands and designers. We endeavour. It's a kind of a rule that I have within the buying team that every email should be answered. If a brand or a designer has emailed you, to send them a message as to why you will be looking at the collection or not. But quite often it is just that people are time poor and that they can't necessarily see everything that they would like to see because they have to buy what they need to buy. So we buy so many 400, 500, 600 brands. So to try and see on top of that maybe 100 brands to see what's going on out there. It's a lot, and we do a lot. And we don't often have a lot of spare time to keep looking at new brands and feeding back. So in email is really good, but those emails come in their droves daily. So it is difficult to reply to everyone and to see everybody's brands. But I think when we do, that we try to be as, critique as best as we can. Oh, no, they've stopped.
Perfect timing.
Emailing and sending things to people is the best way to really get somebody to look. But if a buying team are doing their job properly, which I know ours is, we will look at everything we possibly can and feedback. It's by doing that we have found some amazing brands and launched some amazing businesses before other people, because we're really passionate about finding newness. But it takes a lot of work and effort. You have to really want to do it. It's really hard. I wish I had more hours in the day, but it's hard to look at everything.
Thank you. We have some hands in the back.
Good afternoon. My name is Romeo Butcher. Welcome to Nigeria, Ma.
Thank you.
I want to find out what are the skills someone should need or something you should do to become a fashion buyer.
What you should do?
Yes. What skills do you need to become a fashion buyer, and how to become a successful fashion buyer? And also, how do a fashion buyer works? Because most of us here, not everyone is a fashion designer. Some people would like to become fashion buyers like you.
Yep.
And also, what are the qualities somebody should look out for as a fashion buyer?
Okay, so probably the first skill that you need is understanding the customer. So I worked on the shop floor, but I also worked in sales. I actually wholesaled a lot of fashion designers to stores. So understanding what I learned, there's lots of things that make a collection desirable to the customer. So you learn that by selling to customers or by working with designers. So I think that's something you need to understand. You need to understand your price points, why something is too expensive, why something works at that price, doesn't work at that price. And that all comes by working with product. Whichever way you work with product, you need to kind of learn that and understand that. Then the skill to being a buyer is basically how do you making money. So I want to sell a dress and I want to sell it for that much. I can make that much money. And how many dresses could I buy to make that much money? So there's a skill with numbers. Now, I'm not very good at maths at all, but I'm good at understanding how to make money. I'm very good at... I spend way too much money. I am always broke, so I don't know how to save it, but I know how to make it and I know how to spend it. And that's what you do as a buyer. How do you make the money and how do you get people to spend it? It's like having. I sometimes liken it to having. A stall at a market. If everybody's got oranges, then I want lemons because I've got something different to everybody else to sell, and I'll charge you twice as much for the privilege of having my lemons. So it's that on a very glamorous luxury level. I think you also have to have a lot of good people skills and dealing with lots of different types of brands and designers and nationalities. I love people and I love travel. Otherwise, this would be an impossible job if you didn't like those things as well.
Okay, I think we can take about 2 more questions.
Okay. Hello. My name is Adiola. I just want to ask a question. Where is the future of production going right now in terms of country? Because you're a fashion buyer and you're an entrepreneur. So I was asking another question after in terms of entrepreneurship.
In terms of production, I do know a little bit, but that's not. But you wouldn't necessarily know that as being a fashion buyer. But because I worked with many brands before, and because I have my own line, I certainly do understand quite a lot about production, which actually have helped me a lot in this job, because I can understand why a brand, when they're emerging, why you would need to work with them more closely at delivering outside of a normal production window, how factories work, how much they're being charged. So sometimes I work with brands and they've never really dealt with the factory before, and I'm telling them early on to watch out for this, 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 and this, and I'll work with you on a special delivery window because there's no way that factory's going to work with you on what they're telling you. Factories tend to, there's not many left in England. I know that a lot of people are still using France and Italy and Portugal. Factories are...
What of India?
And India, yeah. India's really good for embroidery. A lot of people tend to go out there for embroidery and sequins and beaded work.
Okay, second question, as an entrepreneur. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but to put your business in a very good position, like how much do you need to start and where should you put the money into to have a very good momentum?
What, for you, for your business?
Yes.
What do you do?
I produce apparels, like this is one of my shirts.
You got a factory?
I have a factory, not my factory. I produce in Turkey.
Okay.
So that's what I was asking, like, where's the best place to produce and how much do you really need to, like, pump into the business?
You want to produce shirts?
No, I do produce shirts in Turkey.
In Turkey?
Yes.
I've worked with Turkish factories. When I had my own line, I used to sit in the factory, and there they'd be sewing my things. And I promise you, the moment I walked out that door, my thing came off, and they put somebody else's things under the sewing machine. And I'd come back, and I said, "I knew it. You've taken it off. Put it back." And they were like, "Oh, quick, she's back. She's back." So small runs. I think it's really difficult for people when they're having small production runs, which is maybe 50 of a shirt or 100 of a shirt, when you've got people coming in with thousands. They're always going to deal with those guys, but there are times when that factory's quiet, and that's years ago this didn't work, but it would work today, where you could then be the person that they deal with when they're quiet, as long as you've got a retailer that wants to have your goods arriving outside of a fashion window, which we do a lot, and that's how we work with a lot of emerging fashion designers, because it's the only way they can get their things produced. It's quite challenging. But it's a challenging industry, and there's lots of things that are a reason why people are successful, and there's lots of absolutely no reasons why that other person isn't successful. It's just getting all those stars aligned and, fashion aligned and trends aligned. And I do believe you need a good dollop of luck in life, but you need to create it. You need to open your own doors. Don't expect somebody else to do it for you.
Thank you, Natalie. So we're out of time for questions.
Good afternoon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question.
30 seconds you got.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
One quick question.
Very quick. Good afternoon.
Hello.
My name is Cyril. I'm a fashion artist. I paint on clothing. I just want to ask, would you be interested in buying this?
I'll definitely come and have a chat with you. How can I not after
Thank
that?
you so much.
Thank you so much, Natalie. It's been a really, really insightful discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, Natalie Kingham.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.